Good evening and welcome to the program, The Law, the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. Well, this is a program that explains government policies better to the people. It's a program that bridges the gap between the government and the people. My name is Rachel David White, and today we'll be taking a look at some of the socio-political trends in Nigeria today. Well, the first one is that of Haneze Ndibo. Let's quickly take a look at what the body Haneze Ndibo had to say. Well, Haneze Ndibo, the Apex Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization, has urged Igbos to relocate their investment back to their homeland in the east, citing the ongoing demolition exercise in Lagos as a reminder of a need for self-reliance. Well, these are some of the reports we'll be looking at today, but majorly the organization made the directive known in a statement issued by its Secretary General Mazi Okechukwu Izuguzoro. Haneze Ndibo said the refusal of certain Igbos in Lagos to listen to the warnings of Dean Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu has led to a perception that Igbos are the architect of their misfortunes in this current situation that has sparked so many reactions, especially from the Igbo-speaking indigenes. We noted that the ongoing demolition in Lagos have disproportionately affected properties owned by Igbos residents, a situation that Igbos are the architect of their misfortune. Well, Haneze Ndibo emphasized that this is an opportunity for Igbos to reflect on their past actions and, of course, take steps to safeguard their future. And they also pointed to investigations and intelligence reports that have revealed that the loss of investment and properties to the Lagos government and, of course, legislators was foreseen by Ojukwu. His prophetic words, what the statement said, it serves as a reminder that the days of reckoning would come, urging Igbos to heed his advice and relocate their investment back to their homeland. We'll go on a short break, and when we come right back, the show still continues. All right, welcome back. It's still the program, The Law of the People and Governance. I told you it was going to be a very quick break, so welcome back. All right, let's get to the next report we'll be looking at today. Well, today we'll look away from the Haneze Ndibo story. Of course, we'll look at another story that is also trending. Well, indigenes of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, under the umbrella body of concerned FCT citizens and civil society groups have called on the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to show more accountability and transparency in the allocation of lands in the FCT. Well, at a press briefing in Abuja, the group called for an investigation of land allocation since the minister assumed office. Well, convener of the group, Comrade Daniel Okwa, queried the exemption of the FCT from the Treasury's single account policy of the federal government and also condemned the 5 million payment for issuance of certificates of occupancy for residents. Well, away from this, we'll also take a look at what is going on in Edo State. That is going to be one of the major reports we'll be looking at today. And of course, that is going to be our last report for today. But before then, I think we should bring our guests on sit so we can talk better. Do stay tuned. We're coming right back.
which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every day marks a day of significance.
That in view of the apology tendered by this former minister who had earlier been cleared by this August Assembly,
as we face critical issues, developments and events which shape our social and political landscape here in Nigeria and beyond. Political Spectrum is a program specially designed to help make sense of all the moving parts of developments and occurrences in our nation's polity and political economy.
There is nothing wrong with Nigeria, but there's everything wrong.
The educational history of public figures holds significance beyond mere biographical details.
From executive, legislative and judicial developments at national and subnational levels to international diplomacy and relations.
Join us for exclusive interviews with key political figures, expert opinions, analysts, thought-provoking conversations for and against, shedding light on the major issues that matter. We will always keep you updated on the most factual, smartest and unbiased reportage.
Stay tuned to Political Spectrum. Political Spectrum. All sides matter at the round table. Political Spectrum. Exclusive to Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
All right, welcome back. It's still the program, The Law, the People and Governance, and we're back to discuss better. Of course, the issue that we'll be majorly looking at today is the feud between Governor Obaseki of Edo State and his deputy Shuaibu. Well, let's get to the main details of this report. And of course, you know that my guest is here in the house already. So let me quickly introduce him before I give you details of that report. Welcome to the show, Paulinus Peter.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you here.
I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So indications has emerged on how Governor Godwin Obaseki somehow, well, according to report, plotted to frustrate the governorship declaration of his deputy Philip Shuaibu. Well, the Shuaibu's declaration was scheduled to hold on Monday, November 27th at Etano Hotel, Crescent of Ipokwan Road, Government Reservation Area in Benin City. Well, however, Obaseki and his camp also fixed an event there. So as Shuaibu was set to make his declaration, Obaseki's supporters were also converging for a meeting right there. Shuaibu's declaration coincides with the fourth meeting of the Finish Well Group, which is the main structure of the governor of the Edo PDP, in Edo PDP rather, while the meeting of the group kicks off at 7:30 a.m. Tribal supporters were expected to storm the same venue at 8 a.m. Well, a source close to the deputy governor said the group's meeting was merely posted to disorganize their own meeting, but they remain unshaken. Well, the twist to the whole event emerged when the hotel cancelled Schwaiber's event at the last minute, saying Governor Obaseki had a program for the venue at the same time. Schwaiber, who hails from the Edo North Senatorial District, has been at loggerheads with his boss, who has not endorsed his bid to succeed him in next year's election. While the deputy governor, who had earlier reiterated his loyalty to Obaseki, who hails from Edo South, has insisted that he will contest for the poll. Meanwhile, the hotel, like I already said, had already cancelled the reservation of the Deputy Governor Philip Schwaiber, stating that Governor Godwin Obaseki already met the reservation for the same venue at that same time. Mr. Schwaiber had previously booked the hotel to declare his intention to join the 2024 gubernatorial election of the same state, months after his fallout with Governor Obaseki. While speaking at the Bishop Kelly Center, a different venue on the show for the event this morning, Schwaiber stated that working with Governor Obaseki made him feel the pains of the people, and so was poised to develop the state, and urged the people to support his ambition to work with him to develop the state. In September, Schwaiber dropped a lawsuit stopping the governor from removing him from office. He apologized for any wrongdoing to Governor Obaseki, who gave him a condition to drop his governorship bid for the feud to end. Well, Governor Obaseki also maintained that he had no personal issues with his deputy, stating that the issues are very straightforward. He said, "I have nothing personal against the deputy governor and never had. For me, the issue are very straightforward." Now, on anointing a successor, Governor Obaseki said on Friday that the process of anointing a successor must be fair and a sense of inclusion. And in reaction to this, Kasim Afebua, who was a special advisor on media and later commissioner for information of Edo, to the former Edo State Governor Adams Aliyu Shomole, in a recent interview says he has energy, intellect, grit and courage to govern Edo State in the 2024. Well, let's get down to our guests so we can talk about these issues properly. Welcome back once again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a while. So without wasting much time, I'd like us to hammer on the Edo State crisis, because before now we had seen this crisis come up, and then I remember the words of Schwaiber. He says a father would always wrong, or a child would always go back to the father to plead for forgiveness if he wrongs the father, something like that. So their face-off was intercepted by the president, and of course we saw a calm, which everybody, you know, clapped to that. It looked like everything was peaceful and better. But I mean, all of a sudden we're seeing this happen again. My question, or my worry, or not just my worry, is why does it look like governors do not like anointing their deputies, you know, to take over from them? They would rather prefer picking up a fresh person to succeed them.
Well, if we are to start from that angle, I would say the reason is not far-fetched, and that's because in Nigerian democratic experience, it is very obvious that the gladiators, the political actors, you know, that come together do not do so on the basis of ideology. You know, they do so on the basis of some factors that are strange to democracy. That's why you often see, you know, a deputy governor that's supposed to be a formidable member of a team, you know, not sharing the same ideology with that of a governor. That's because it's never ideology that brought them together in the first place. It's a strange thing, and it's not too different from what is happening in the Nigerian state. You know, for me, Nigeria is one country, you know, that is running a faulty system. It's one country that is having a whole lot of distortion.
No, but by faulty system, what do you mean?
This is what I mean. You know, the world over, political institutions or democratic institutions supposed to be as a result or driven by ideology. But in Nigeria, you know, you see political institutions being built around personalities instead of ideology. So you are always bound when you have such scenario to have that problem of sustainability. That's why whenever, you know, there seems to be a transition from one government to the other, because that element of sustainability is lacking, you always see some unnecessary crisis. That crisis that is occasioned as a result of personality conflict, personality clash, and that has always been the issue. So the deputy and the governor in the first place has never blended. So what threw them up must have been, you know, the favoritism from the godfathers. You know, we have a situation whereby, for instance, you want to go for governorship, instead of you to sit down and come up with your manifesto, all what you need to do as a Nigerian is just look at a strong man, look at a powerful man, look at a godfather. You go to that godfather and say, look, I want to be a governor. Why not give me deputy governor? So that's why I said Nigerian system is faulty. Nigerian system is distorted. And that's why we are having all this drama and crisis. It's not peculiar to Edo State, but it's happening in Edo State because they are having election around the corner. So until Nigeria and Nigerians go back to begin to do things right, we'll continue to have this kind of problems. That is quite unfortunate. I've never seen anywhere in the constitution where the governor is supposed to single-handedly, you know, anoint and install a successor. You know, he runs foul of what the constitution says. So that we allow it happen and we applaud it. And it has been happening over time, you know, is what has been weakening democratic institutions. Otherwise, party as a democratic institution supposed to have a let down role for having, you know, leaders emerge, but that has never been. We have a situation whereby strong men or personalities that are in charge, you know, will normally, you know, dictate at the expense of the generality of the people, who becomes what? And that's quite unfortunate. And that's why whoever ends up emerging as a leader in whatever position will owe his or her allegiance and loyalty to the person that so influenced his or her emergence. And at the end of the day, the masses, the people, will always be at the loss, because at the first place, it was never the will of the people that leads to the emergence of the leaders. So now, it's quite unfortunate.
That brings me to the issue of godfatherism in politics. I mean, over time, we've been having the issue of godfatherism in politics. I mean, take a look at Fubara and Wike, right? Now, we're having issues that, some time ago we had impeachment issues where the State House of Assembly was burned and all of that. Now, the issue of godfatherism is strongly present. Like, you could see the full hands of godfatherism there. Now, according to reports, Wike single-handedly handpicked Fubara for that position. Now, he handpicked Simi for that position, and then Simi trying to change things, Governor Simi trying to change things, or trying to put in people without the backing of the godfather. Now, it now stirs up a political feud, a political crisis, or a fight between the father and the son. Or, because, yeah, the father and the son, that's the term they use. So, the issue of godfatherism over time has caused issues in different states. So, I mean, I remember some time back here in Akwa Ibom State when the past governor, Udomi Mano, came on seats, and then, of course, he was handpicked by the then governor, who is now the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, okay, to man that position. Now, there were different, how do I put it? There were different concerns. In fact, sometimes when persons are unpicked to occupy a position, you see the power of incumbency come to play, because, I mean, no matter how another party tries to fight, of course, the power of incumbency always comes to play. Now, this is the governor's choice, so the governor's choice becomes the people's choice, whether they like it or not, in most cases. So, do you think, or what role has the, term godfatherism, or do I call it de facto godfatherism in politics, played in politics here in Nigeria?
Well, actually, the Nigerian democratic experience of processes are actually influenced and driven by godfatherism. And that is why, to most extent, development is, relegated to the background. And just as you rightly said, the genesis of the crisis in Edo State can be traced to the disagreement between Adams Oshimole, who was the then godfather of the present governor, and the deputy governor. And as I rightly said, they did not emerge as a result of the free will or the general will of the people, but they emerged as a result of being favored by a strong man then, who was the governor then in that state. So, and these godfathers, they want a situation where the sitting governors will reign, will only be reigning and not ruling. They want to still be in charge, howbeit behind the scene. And the governor, by the virtue of their positions, who always wants to be themselves. The governor, of course. They always want to be seen as a governor. And that do not go down well with the godfathers. And that is why we have been having this crisis. So, to solve that problem, is for us to practice democracy the way it should be practiced. That's why I said, in Nigeria, it seems that we have our own way of wiving and running our own systems, contrary to the world-known conventions. Ordinarily, democracy is supposed to be about the people. It's supposed to be a game of numbers. It's supposed to be about the majority rule, but yet it's not so. We call it democracy, but it's about cabals. It's about few individuals with huge pockets. It's about few individuals who have been holding the state hostage, determining, without minding to know if the person that they wants to impose on the people actually have what it takes in terms of expertise, in terms of capabilities, in terms of capacities, in terms of visions. All that do not matter. What matters to them is the sustenance of their influence, is the sustenance of their source of wealth. So it becomes a problem, and that is what is happening. Otherwise, why should the governor be fighting the deputy governor to the extent of trying to stop him from declaring his interests? For God's sake, the Constitution allows every individual that has attained, that universal adult suffrage of 18 years. You have that right to vote and be voted for. Yeah. So why should the governor say that for peace to reign, you must drop that constitutional allowed, provisions and powers? So that is where the problem is, because the governor wants to be the godfather, and unfortunately, they don't seem to learn. He himself never allowed his then godfather, Adams Oshimole, to be the godfather beyond some period of time. So why is he trying to come up with these things? It happens all over the state, and that is why governance is always relegated. We end up having, democracy with politics without governance. We end up having government without dividends. So that has been a problem. It's not just peculiar to Edo State. It's what is happening all over the federation, all over the state of Nigeria. And that's why I started by saying we are running a faulty system. Ours is a system that is highly distorted. Ours is a system that runs contrary to the world-known best practices of what democracy and governance should be. And until we see that and wake up to call a spade, we will continue to have this dilemma. We will continue to have this problem. And unfortunately, as I will always say, the citizens, now they are seeing it as the governor and the deputy governor's fight. But this thing has a way of affecting the generality of the people. So for me, until the people rise up to insist on getting it right, then the people will always be taken for granted. Because at the end of the day, whoever prevails, of course, it will lead to a situation whereby he that pays the piper dictates the tune. Whoever prevails, that is where the loyalty of the government that will emerge will be. And the people will not be taken into consideration. That's why these leaders, they don't care whether there is development or not. They don't care whether the welfare of the people are taken care of or not. All what they care is how they should be loyal to the system, how they should be loyal to the strong men, how they should be loyal to this powerful individual. So by so doing, we end up having a situation where we have strong men with weak institutions. Otherwise, it should be the political parties that should be in charge of deciding and setting in place the processes that will lead to the emergence of who becomes the flag bearer of the party. But in this case, it is not so. You see the governor, actually coming out obviously to say, I should unpick, and nobody seen anything wrong. So it's quite unfortunate. It's a distorted system.
Now, do you
that
think
is not peculiar to Edo State?
Do you think that, this has already, it's not peculiar to Edo State, because I've cited one here in Akwa Ibom State. I've talked about River State, of course.
Even Lagos State is all
yeah,
over.
So
Abia State, and there is no state.
Do you think that this issue, to resolve this issue, we have to go and look at our laid down rules, the Constitution? We look at reviewing the Electoral Act again and all of that. Do you think it has something to do with that? And I just want to merge something. Sometime last week, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo had said that Western democracy, which we are practicing, is not working for Africa. It's failed in Africa. And then he cited some of the experiences he had. Well, so many persons have blamed him for being one of the founding fathers of corrupt practices and other issues that led to what we are having right now.
Well, for me, I'm one person that has never taken, the insinuations or postulations of our past leaders serious. Wow. That's because they once had opportunity to right their wrongs, but they choose not to do. So for, with due respect to his person, for our former president to come up and say the system is not good, then I see that as an hypocrisy, I see that as a pretense. I see that as a statement that is not sincere.
Why do you think so?
Why? Because he had the opportunity, to oversee the affairs of the country for 8 years, and he never seen anything wrong. So why is it wrong now? Is it because he has not been able to get it the way he wanted it? So insincerity of purpose, hypocrisy has been a problem. Deceit has been a problem, and these are typical Nigerian factors. These are the things that impede development. These are the things that do not allow us to move forward. For God's sake, Obasanjo was there for 8 years. He has never done anything. In fact, to be very fair to the statement accredited to the presidency, some of the challenges we are having, were actually midwife and conceptualized by the then president.
What can you point out maybe one or two that you would say, oh, this started from this administration?
Very quickly, it was until the Obasanjo administration that we never had free and fair primaries in the country. It was during Obasanjo's era that whoever that the president favors becomes the anointed candidate. In fact, by then you don't even need to bother yourself about the general elections. Once you have Babas they call him on your side, then it's all about carry go.
Like we saw in the case of Yar'Adua.
They came up with this PDP carry go and the rest of it. So it was actually one of the persons or leaders that actually done so much to undermine democratic processes and practices in this country. I said that with all amount of fairness and with all amount of respect to his person, but the truth must be told. A spade must be called a spade. So for me, I'm one person that have ceased to take the statement of Obasanjo and other past leaders seriously. I cited an instance here some time ago that take the example of local government autonomy. For an instance, while these governors will be there as the governor of the state, they will never allow local government autonomy. But by the time they finish serving out their tenure and move to the Senate, you will hear them clamoring for local government autonomy. That's hypocrisy of high ranking. And no country is developed that way. That's why we end up having a system that lacks sincerity of purpose. A system, that is distorted. A system that is characterized by deceit. I don't know if you understand my point. Until we correct that. We have a system that is run on favoritism and not by the law. For God's sake, the law is supposed to be impartial. There's supposed to be some laid down procedures and conventions that makes the system to be auto-driven, to be auto-driven. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So a situation we end up having a governor, whatever the governor says becomes the law of the land, without minding the provision of the constitution, without minding the ideology of the parties, if there is any, then we'll continue to have this problem until we emphasize on having institutions, functional institutions, and not your strong men. You know, this problem will continue to be with us. And it's quite unfortunate that the people that have been at the receiving end, they don't see anything wrong. It is here in Nigeria that anything that happens in politics is none of the people's business. They will tell you that politics is dirty game, is for dirty people, but at the same time, they will expect clean things to come out of the system. So you can see that the hypocrisy and the insincerity of purpose is all around, is at the side of the leaders and the led at the same time. So that is why Nigeria it is the way it is. So we must come to a state whereby we allow laws to govern and actually dictate the way we act. And until that happens, then this crisis that is all about personalities' interests, this crisis that is parochial, this crisis that is, you know, self-driven, will continue to take the center stage, while development and what have you will always be on the background. It's quite unfortunate.
Okay, yeah. I just want us to use maybe just a sentence to say, if we have to fix this, I mean, a Edo governorship election is around the corner, and then before then, there are eye-openers, things are happening. I mean, the past election, presidential election, we had a lot to learn. The off-cycle election, we had a lot to learn. So if there is supposed to be another election, we should have a better version of the wrongs we've had all this while. So in just a sentence, what would you say we should do to correct the wrong?
Well, for me, it's the rule of law. It's for us to allow the law to have its course. It's for us to allow our actions and inactions to be governed and determined by the law. In this instance, what does the law say? If the law guarantees, the Constitution guarantees everybody the right of expression, the right to aspire to any position. So the governor or whoever should not try to stop anybody. And once, you know, that is done, it becomes a distortion of the law. It's lawlessness. And once you have lawlessness in place, you are bound to have chaos. You are bound to have crisis. So for us to get it right, we need to come to that point where we allow the rule of law to be our lifestyle.
Okay, so I'm just hopeful, you know, sometimes we wish for things to happen, especially in Nigeria, especially in our political system. And then we'll just say we hope that one day it's going to happen, because it takes a leader who is ready to be a servant, you know, who is ready to accept that he or she came into that office to serve, to say, oh, let's allow things to work, and not that one who came in to actually, you know, make sure that he or she is rich, or our family is rich, generations unborn are rich forever. I mean, I think that is one of the sole aim of coming into politics for so many politicians in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your views this evening.
All right, thank you very much. It's always been a pleasure.
All right, so we've been having the voice of, in person rather, of, I like to call him my able comrade, Paulinus Peter. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to the people. It's been a program, The Law of the People and Governance, here on Spectrum Television. Today was just the first edition for the week, but trust me, tomorrow and the next and the next and the next promises to be exciting and, of course, very, very informative. So catch you again tomorrow. Meanwhile, don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. Catch you again tomorrow. My name is Rachel David White. Good evening.